Let's
All
see.
right.
Okay, you should be told now that it's being recorded.
Yes.
So watch what you say, man. Don't call anybody names.
All right. I'll be careful. I'll be uncharacteristically reserved. All right. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Happy New Year, and welcome to 2022, and the kickoff of the legislative session this week. So things are in high gear. We've got a bunch of bills that are tracking, and a long list of bills went out to y'all yesterday afternoon. I hope you've had a chance to at least screen them for anything that may be of particular interest to you. I plan to probably cover more this week than usual. Once we get going, you'll quickly find that a bunch of these bills really are just filed, for sport or for somebody believes in them, but they've got a snowball's chance in hell to make it through the session for a variety of reasons. But because they're environmental related, we've tagged them and flagged them, and if something changes through the session and for some reason they something happens and they start to move, we'll follow them. But I'm primarily going to focus on the big issues in the environmental space that are moving, that are significant and meaningful to leadership and are moving. So before I get into environmental stuff, just kind of an overview of the theme. This is a redistricting year, meaning that every 10 years after a census, we've got to redraw the House and Senate district boundaries, and it's a big political fight whenever that happens, because it can tip potentially tip the balance of power. You've heard the words gerrymandering. We're not allowed to gerrymander in Florida, but both parties accuse the other party of gerrymandering anyway. It occupies a lot of political kind of air in the room during redistricting sessions, and it's also a re-election year, which is why we're starting early. And so the members really want to get done with session as quickly as they can, so they can move on with campaigning back in their home districts, and hopefully getting elected or reelected. So that doesn't mean that there won't be substantive environmental policy, and it certainly doesn't mean, based on what the governor's budget request was, that the environment isn't still a priority of leadership. So current leadership, this is second year or second. Did somebody have a comment? All right. Yeah, I guess I should cover some ground rules. If anybody has any questions, just barge in, try to get my attention, and I'll stop and answer your question. Otherwise, I'd probably just rattle on for the 30 minutes. So current leadership, Senator Simpson is the president. This is his second year. It's his final year. He is running for ag commissioner, so he's still in the political, in the theater of the political world. Even though this is his last year as a senator. He, of course, is dominating the agenda in the Senate, along with Kathleen Passidomo, who's incoming Senate president. And in the House side, you've got Chris Sprowls is the speaker. This is his second year, and then Paul Renner is the incoming speaker. So those are the main players in the Senate and House. Outside of environment, there's a lot of talk about, teacher pay raises and police pay raises, and, a handful of other stuff that are dominating the news, but I don't really care much about, and I'm not assuming that any of y'all do or don't, but that's going to dominate a lot of time as well. So now, kind of digging in the environment, what I'd like to do is maybe just talk some themes that I'm seeing and hearing, and then dive into the bill list, and then I'll point out the bills that are that I think are going to move this year. Does that sound good for everybody? Any comments or questions before I dive in? Okay. All right. So some of the big things this year, obviously water quality is still dominating kind of the environmental talking points. All of the dead manatees in the newspaper. I mean, we didn't have a ton of blue-green algae blooms, but we had dead manatees instead. So the drum is still being pounded pretty loudly on more and wider sweeping, changes or upgrades to regulations and more funding and all that. So what the governor's asked for is a bunch more funding. So Everglades is still a big priority, of course, but there's another large ask for funds for more of what we've been doing over the last couple of years. Improving, wastewater treatment plants and upgrading those. Just about everyone I can think of has already gotten every bit of money they've asked for and has done a bunch of upgrades. But there's always money for more if there are more upgrades to be done. Certainly extensions of expansions of underground collection systems to get more people that are on septic tanks onto central sewer. There is so a lot of discussion about reforming the regulations around septic tanks for folks that can't get connected to sewer. So there are bills floating, including inspection bills, including mandatory inspections of septic tanks, and those have never been popular in the past. It'd be interesting. I'll be interested to see if those types of ideas are gonna move further along now. There are still parts of the Clean Waterways Act, SB 712 from 2020, that are still being implemented. So there may be a handful of bills implementing various provisions of that original legislation. And what I mean by that is the Department of Environmental Protection was required to go do rulemaking on a couple of topics, stormwater and septic tanks, to name two, and was given a time frame to do so, and they've more or less accomplished one and are maybe close to accomplishing the second. And when those rules are ready to be promulgated, they're both going to trigger ratification requirements because of their impact to the regulated community. And if those milestones hit in time for the session, we may see a ratification bill come in. Even if we don't, I think the price tags on a couple of those bills, or excuse me, on the couple of those regulations, the stormwater regulation in particular, if that gets a little further along and people want to start to see some tweaks because they think the burden is going to be too high, that could happen. And then also PFAS, another water quality related issue, but not as much manifestation of nutrient issues, more legacy chemicals in the ground, perfluorinated substances, or PFAS, are remnants of all kinds of manufacturing processes and firefighting foams, and a number of other products have contain one or more of the family of chemicals broadly known as PFAS. It is very persistent in the environment, so it doesn't break down, and it can travel long distances in the groundwater, and it is showing up just about everywhere. So there are a number of bills filed on PFAS, and I am almost certain we're going to see PFAS legislation this year get signed by the governor. So those are kind of the overview issues that I see: water quality, PFAS. They're going to be more, but for now, those are kind of the high points on the policy side. And then on the funding side, it's going to be, again, water quality projects in the Everglades. So with that, I'll pause a second again and catch my breath, and then I'll get ready to dive into the bill list. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so Laura, any indication that PFAS legislation will come with funding? Maybe a pittance, maybe some study funding, but I don't see any potential for some kind of massive new funding source or trust fund created or anything like that. let me get to the PFAS bill, and I'll make sure to address funding when I get to that section. There's 3 or 4 PFAS bills right now. All right, so let me yeah, go ahead and you're welcome. Go ahead and put your questions in line, or raise your hand, or just come off mute and yell at me. All right, so the bill tracking list, it's disorderly right now, meaning it's not in any particular order based on significance of the bill or even bill number. For now, we really have just been throwing bills on this list as they are popping up. Yeah, sorry. Somebody have a question? Okay. Before next week, I'm going to resort this so that the interesting bills are up front, and then the rest of the bills are kind of in the back. And I'll probably put them in numerical order. What I have tried to do is put the matching bills. If there's a House and Senate companion, I've tried to put the companions together. So
are you sharing the screen, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
We're not seeing it.
Oh, I'm not showing it. You guys got this in your emails last night.
Okay.
Do you want me to put it on the screen? Would that help y'all?
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
All right, I can do that. I have that technology. Okay. I think you should have it then. So this is what you got in your emails last night. So you have your own copy, and we'll continue to distribute these every week. They're in Word form, so you can cut and paste them. You pull them into other things. You're not seeing a ton or really any analysis in this. This is just the cut and paste from I think either the House or the Senate side that has the sponsor, when it was introduced, the bill summary, and then kind of what's going on with it. Is it moving or not? For the bills that are going to be of interest to CEQ or Water Resources, we'll certainly do some analysis for you and for the committees. And for those bills that we do have an interest in and want to get involved in, we can do a lot more than what we're doing right here. This is just a list of everything that's out there that is environmentally related. Again, kind of disordered right now, but we'll get it more organized. So from top to bottom, there is a recycling bill. I think there's going to be a handful of recycling bills, or almost always 1 or 2 or 3 bills that are recycling related. This one is not going to go anywhere. It's basically a plastic, plastic grocery bag ban, and these have been floated every now and then and don't make it far. So skipping that, the critical wetlands, these inventories of critical wetlands, these are kind of interesting. Senator Broder and Rep. Trunow don't file stuff that aren't meaningful typically, and don't, aren't solving some problem. There is, a few aspects of this that are interesting to me. I don't know whether it's going to go anywhere yet, but I'm doing a little bit of a deeper dive. The snapshot of this is water management districts and local governments are going to come up with a list of critical wetlands for acquisition and push those lists, through the water management districts back to DEP. So this could presumably create kind of an alternative list to the Florida Forever list. Maybe it supplements the Florida Forever list. That's the part that I don't fully understand the rationale for this. But we already have a process of screening candidate wetlands for acquisition called the Florida Forever program, and that's run out of the Department of Environmental Protection. And this would create apparently another mechanism for identifying and designated wetlands and getting it on that list. But more to come on this one if it starts to move. The next bill, Legal Rights of the Natural Environment, also filed by Escamani, that is a DOA issue. There's nothing that's going to happen in the legislature on that. Now, there is a petition forming to put the same proposal on the next next ballot for a constitutional amendment. And if that were to happen, that would be mind-blowingly dumb, but I wouldn't put it past Florida to pass something like that. If we can pass a ban on pregnant pigs in cages, then we can probably pass this. But yeah, this would create a legal right for a water or a wetland to challenge development. So kind of strange, and it's a growing kind of movement. Couple of countries around the world have established these kind of legal rights of the natural environment, and that movement is trying to get it into Florida. Not through this legislature, though. So cost share program for agriculture, shellfish, timber. I don't know anything about this, folks. I just put this on the list because some of you may care about it. If anybody does care about this and wants to know more, just please email me and I'll try to learn something more about it. But this is on here just for, again, because it's environmental related. It's filed by 2 Democrats, so I'm not sure if it has the attention or support of House or Senate leadership, although I will point out that it's moving in on the Senate side. So anyway, it's in the for what it's worth category. All right, so the next one is one of the first of a few septic tank related bills. SB 856 is a private provider inspections for OSTDSs. So this is filed by I think it's actually came out of a committee, but the co-sponsor is Broder. This would allow for the Department of Environmental Protection, who now regulates the OSTDS program, to use private providers. So, think qualified contractors, and I don't really understand fully the qualification requirements yet, although they're laid out in the bill. But once a contractor is authorized, then the department doesn't have to send or use a county health inspector to inspect OSTDS systems or drain field systems or any of those things. They can be farmed out, and presumably this would help expedite the permitting of more septic tanks, which again, kind of the head scratcher is, it seems like it's running in contrast with the other 9/10 of the department's efforts, which are focused on getting rid of septic tanks. But anyway, this bill is there. It's filed by Broder and is already moving. SB 840. I don't know anything about SB 840 yet, although it's filed by Albritton, who is the Senate President designee after Pasadomo. So his bills are going to get attention. But just looking at the summary, land surveyors preference to using private property line method. Okay, so I know what this is. I flagged this for those of you who are maybe working on dock permitting, and I know there's going to be a handful of folks on CEQ that do a lot of dock permitting. The determination of riparian rights as they extend out from the property owner out into the water over sovereign submerged lands. It's a bit of a complicated area of law and a mix of law and case law and some guidance from the department. This would prioritize or create a preference for one particular method of establishing that line. To me, it indicates that he's got a constituent that is upset with the way it was done and wants to have a law benefiting them. So I know that's a little bit sarcastic and snarky. Maybe that'll be the only one only comment like that I make this time. So
it looks like, Jeff, they picked up a House bill now. This is Matt Butler.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Matt. I haven't seen it yet, but thanks for letting me know. I'll track it down and put it on the list.
It's on your list later on down the.
Oh, okay, just not organized. All right, I'll get it more organized for next week. Okay, so Matt, do you know if you know anything more about this besides my little sarcastic, cynical comment? Please let me know. All right, so long-term cleanup of harmful algal blooms. So this is, I think, among maybe another pair of bills that are related to either, implementing the recommendations of the Blue-Green Algae Task Force or related to addressing the cleanup of harmful algal blooms. This one is in that mix. This one would prioritize the department to or to require the department to give preference to innovative technology that meet certain standards. As far as I can tell, this is directing the department to spend more money on the algae cleanup being done, technology that are being rolled out by folks like AECOM and others. So this could be kind of lobbied by AECOM. I'm not really sure. It's a very small bill and doesn't really seem to do much except tell the department to spend money on innovative technology, which I think they're already doing. So maybe they needed to shore up some authority. The Stewart bill, SB 832, is one of the septic tank bills that I mentioned earlier that will require septic tank owners to have periodic inspections. And this has been tried before in the legislature and has been repealed before in the legislature. It has been politically unpopular. Now I'm not so sure with all of the other attention on septic tanks. So I'm watching this closely to see if the political winds have changed on this. Okay, the HB 561 is its companion. HB 421, sorry, it's the companion to Broder's 834. Those are out of order. Just the names of these are a little bit wonky, but those are the two pairs of, well, the pair of bills that are addressing harmful algal blooms and the pair of bills that are requiring septic tank inspections. Okay, so another kind of horribly named bill, because you can't really get from the bill title what the heck this is about, but Water Resources Management, HB 349, is a disappointment for folks that were hoping this had anything to do with water resources management. This is a mitigation bank bill for, well, and a catch-all for a few other things related to dock permitting. So it's not anything really water resources, but it is starting to look like it could be a train bill. Every once in a while, you'll have one of these bills that has a bunch of, smaller proposals kind of put together and pushed through. So this is maybe forming into one of those. So right now we got a mitigation piece and a couple of dock pieces in there in HB 349. So we'll keep watching it. I don't think there's a Senate companion. And I'm sorry, I'm not more certain about that, but I'll double check to be sure. But anyway, 349 is something to watch as a potential train. Okay, Fish and Wildlife. I don't really know anything about this. Sorry. This is also vessel related and looks to be like derelict vessel related. Every once in a while, we've had a derelict vessel bill pop up. Again, I haven't really seen or heard anything much about this, but it's on the list. And laid on table. This is kind of weird. Yeah. Did anybody have a question or comment about that? Yeah.
Jeff, just to back up on your House Bill 349.
Yes, sir.
There's a related bill 198, which is called Seagrass Mitigation Banks. That's coming from Rodriguez. So it's not identical, but it's in the same ballpark.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you. And that does remind me that is on this list. So it's not it's out of order. Maybe it's not maybe it just has the seagrass mitigation part. But anyway, thank you, Alan. All right, so derelict vessel bill, HB 323. So here's another out of order one. This is the Senate companion to the first the bill I mentioned that would ban plastic shopping bags. It hasn't been calendared. I don't think it's going to move. Here's the House companion. oh, sorry, maybe I've got a duplicate. Yeah, I do have a duplicate here. Here's the private provider inspections, the House and Senate companion here together. I'll fix that duplicate entry. Okay, true now. Sanitary sewer lateral inspection programs. So this has a House and Senate companion. The Senate bill is a Senate committee bill. I think this is going to pass this year. This is a bill that would require the inspection of sanitary sewer laterals under certain circumstances, and gives local governments, local utilities access to these sanitary sewer laterals, even across private property with reasonable notice. And the thought here is that there have been enough examples of leaks identified where you'll have leaks of wastewater, untreated sewage going into the ground between the home and the point of connection to the municipal system, typically out in the street. And if that leak is occurring on private property, that private lateral has gone pretty much uninspected and uncorrected. And so this is just an effort, again, to address more wastewater quality issues. So I think that's going to pass. So these next two bills, this is the study of the Central and Southern Florida, the CSF project, and I know a number of our members are interested in this. I don't know what's going on here other than what it says, requiring South Florida Water Management District to do an annual report on the status of the CSF project and submit all that to the Office of Economic and Demographic Research. I mean, I'm just reading from the summary. Reporting on the progress is something that the district, I think, already does. So I don't fully understand what problem this is trying to solve. But if it has any effect on the
90, but I mean,
sorry,
depends on when it starts.
Or questions?
All
right. Okay. Anyway, I'll keep monitoring that and report out if I can get some more intel or if that starts to move. Right now, there's no activity on it, so not a lot of reason to study it too hard unless somebody wants me to. Okay. So PFAS. I mentioned that there's a lot of PFAS activity this year. I added these to the list. I typically don't include appropriations bills, but I just wanted to get you a feel for some of the appropriations requests that are coming to address particular PFAS issues or to do particular PFAS studies. And whoever it was that asked the question about appropriation, there have been requests and there will be requests. As you can see by this Marion County PFAS remediation requests, the appropriation requests are going to be very large for PFAS contamination cleanup. It's pretty expensive. The technology to remove it is not fully matured yet, although I think there's some promising technology already, but it's going to be expensive. And I don't have a good feeling for the appetite of the legislature to start issuing appropriations for an applicant or a requester like Marion County, when they don't even have kind of their arms around the need in maybe some larger counties. Orange County, may have, if Marion County needs 4.7 million to clean up its identified PFAS issue, then Orange might need 10 times this or 100 times this. And so I think what we're going to find this year is an inclination to kind of get a handle on the scope of the problem, the size of the problem. There's another issue in Florida that we don't even have water quality standards set in Florida. So clean up to what standard is a question that's being asked and really needs to be answered. So how do you clean up if you don't know what the cleanup standard is? So that question really needs to get addressed. So I think these appropriation bills are probably not going to pass this year. And what you'll see instead is is the passage of one of these PFAS bills later. And I know we're coming up on our time clock. I'm going to try to speed this up. Couple of keys related things. Sorry, I'm going to skip them. Bottled water excise tax, not going to happen. Safe Waterways Act, public bathing place issue, not going to happen. Drinking water in public schools, not going to happen. The reef programs, maybe 50-50. It didn't happen last year, and these are back from last year. I'm going to skip the endangered species and the greenhouse gas bills. Infrastructure project funding is something Water Resources is going to want to watch. I'm going to hit this one a little harder next week, but there is not yet a companion, and I don't know what we can do to help on that one yet. Everglades, I'm going to skip just in the interest of time. And let me get to PFAS. Okay, so I'll wrap up here. These are gonna, let me see if make sure I'm looking at the right one. Okay, both pairs of PFAS bills I think are going to pass, but they're probably going to get merged before we're done. So the PFAS bill that was run out of Broder's committee is going to create a task force. And there's like 16 or 18 members of it. They're all designated by the legislature, and they're going to come up with some kind of plan for the state, make recommendations for how we're going to deal with PFAS. And this is a multi-year task force. So you might think, well, that's a kick the can down the road kind of plan. And it may be, but part of it is, there's a lot of the situation is changing at the federal level with how these substances are being regulated. EPA is weighing in, and then there's also a couple of really big kind of massive multi-jurisdiction cases. Think of them like class action cases, like big tobacco cases. And as some of those cases get further along, they may very well result in large settlements and big chunks of money that could then be distributed among the states that have been impacted by PFAS and form the basis of a trust fund that could be tapped for cleanup. So one of the reasons that it might make good public policy sense to kind of kick the can down the road and set up a task force and just study this for a while is to let those cases make their way through and let those trust funds get established, let the federal standards get set some state standards, and then you've got all the tools in place to go clean up. Right now, people that are calling for cleanup, I think they just don't know what they know what we need to clean up, but we don't know why we need to clean it up or how much we need to clean up or to what standard. And that's kind of a tough scenario for the department and for the industry that's working on this. The soil and groundwater contamination, this is an arsenic in former agriculture lands. This bill and its House companion, I think, are also going to pass. It's being filed by Albritton and is the backing of the Brownfields Association. And there's the House companion of that ag land with arsenic run by Bobby Payne. And then there's a repeat of Albritton's bill. So that's it. 9:04. Sorry I ran long. A lot to cover this time. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna streamline this and get it to the bills that have the most chance of passing at the top, and we can have a more focused conversation about this stuff next week. How does everybody feel about that?
Awesome idea. I had one question. I heard about a bill, and I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it had to do with salinity intrusion on utilities near the coast.
Ooh, thank you, Michael, for mentioning that. So I haven't heard about that, and I do want to tell everybody that I'm doing keyword searches, and so is Laura, and so is Alan. But if we miss stuff, please do let us know. If you see a bill that you think, that you're interested in that has environmental or water resources aspect to it, and it's not on my list, please email me and Laura, and we will get it on the list and track it. Thank you, Michael. Okay, we are 5 minutes over.
Jeff, only one other thing. Denise mentioned it in her little comment there. Any idea, is legislative days going to happen next week? What's the feel?
Well, that's above my pay grade. I suspect that Alan will be covering that with the bigger call maybe later this morning. Not to put you on the spot, Alan.
Oh, I can jump in. I addressed it with our executive day morning call, and as of now, we're going forward with all of our in-person events. Obviously people are allowed to make their own decisions. We've got the hotels set up so that, there will be distancing, and, we will encourage people to wear masks and all those sorts of things. But there's no restrictions in the Capitol this year. You might remember last year, if you testified for a Senate committee, you were actually on camera from the Civic Center. You weren't in the building. The House, you had to have permission basically to get in, to come meet with somebody or testify in a committee. But this year there's no restrictions. It's wide open as it was before COVID. So we're going to move forward with it and see how it goes. We've had very few cancellations. As a matter of fact, we continue to get people signing up. So we're going to move forward with the in-person.
Thank you, Alan. And that reminds me, I want to plug the CEQ meeting next Thursday afternoon, 2:00 in the Sheraton. We've got Deputy Secretary Truitt, Deputy Secretary Babcock. We've got 3 or 4 division directors already confirmed, and hope you all can make it.
Yeah, for those that have done that meeting in the past, it usually occurs in our conference room. And it's usually pretty packed. So we've gotten a room from the Sheraton where the board meetings and everything's going to be held, so that we can spread everybody out a little bit better in there instead of cramming everybody into our little conference room.
Thank you, Alan. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate your participation and attention and all that. Like I said, if you find anything else that you want to track or want to prioritize anything on the list, just please shoot me and Laura a note, and we will make it happen. Looking forward to the weekend, and we'll talk to you all either next Thursday at CEQ or legislative days, or next Friday on this call. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome. Bye.